Welcome to the Wake Up Call for the Soul podcast with Bill and Claire, where we go deep and wide on subjects intended to support our awakening to greater truth, beauty, goodness, freedom, joy, peace, harmony, and love. In this episode, we continue our conversation about sin and healing. This feels like the point for me to share, literally what I've done in terms of a practice and a process for experiencing forgiveness, for these things. And I'll share this, I guess, before I get into it too, is that like at some point when I went into this journey, yeah, I'll tell this story. It's actually on my blog too. And I've had people who are fairly upset by this story. Um, but it's it's my experience. So, and I actually changed my story to make them happy, which probably, anyways, now I would just be like, deal with it. So I'm going to tell it the way I actually experienced it. So, years into my journey, I don't know how many years of this healing and forgiveness journey between me and Source. I remember actually I'm in the room where it happened. It was a bedroom at that point instead of being my office. And I'm in this room, I'm doing something, and I said at that point, I tended to use more God language. I'm like, oh, God, thank you so much for forgiving me. And out of nowhere, what I heard was, I did not forgive you. And I was like, what?
Oh,
Yeah. And whenever I hear something come into my head, it's one thing if it's in line with what I'm already thinking, I'm like, oh, that's just Bill, being Bill. And this was a voice in my head saying, I did not forgive you. I mean, it was clear as day, right? And I think I don't know, did some kind of double take. I don't know if I was doing laundry or what. I don't know what I was doing. Anyways, I was doing something, and I was like, what? And so what what I did then was I'm like, well, maybe, my answer to everything is go to the dictionary to see what the words mean. So I went to my dictionary. That dictionary is still here, and I looked up the word forgiveness. And when I looked it up in the dictionary, I was really shocked by what I saw because when I looked at the word forgiveness in the dictionary, every definition had to do with someone who had done something to wrong someone else, and then that other person being wronged finally kind of granting them grace or forgiveness or love, or basically reestablishing the relationship. And there were like four or five definitions in my dictionary. I mean, if you want to pull it out, I can read them. But that's basically the gist of it. That forgiveness is someone doing something wrong or bad towards someone else, and then that person who's been wronged kind of coming back around and saying, you know what? All right, it's fine. I love you anyways. It's all good. Water under the bridge, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And I mean, there's actual now in this conversation, other things are now occurring to me that haven't occurred to me before, which is always a really good sign. But what I took away from it at that time was the understanding that Source had never stopped loving me, that I had not done anything that would cause Source to say, oh no, we're done with this whole love thing, Bill. We're done.
hmm
You're not getting any more from me. So what I realized is that the forgiveness that I was thanking Source for in that moment, where Source, in my humble opinion, said to me, I did not forgive you. I mean, it didn't say he didn't forgive you or she didn't forgive you. It said, I did not forgive you. And it could have been Spirit speaking on Source's behalf. Anyways, it really got my attention. And I started to realize that the forgiveness that I had experienced was really what I would call self-forgiveness, that really the key block for me that I wasn't aware of really until that moment of realization was like, oh, I was refusing to forgive myself. I was not allowing myself to forgive me for these things that I had done that I was judging myself for and all these different things, let alone other people and such. So, and then the other thought that just occurred to me was that and this one just occurred to me. This wasn't even on my radar before, but now I got to say it because it came to me, is that I also had not done anything to offend Source, right? The Source is this source of unconditional, infinite divine love and light just radiating out, ready for anyone to soak up who wants it. Well, I was refusing to receive and to accept it. And also, I had not done anything to Source that Source considered to be a deal breaker. Um, I hurt myself, maybe. I hurt others. I definitely hurt myself. In a lot of cases, I hurt others. In other cases, I may not have even hurt them. Yeah, who knows? Um, anyways, but I thought I had, and that's enough, to send me into that sort of doom spiral that we were talking about. So yeah, so that's part of the realization, but yeah, we'll go a little further, but I'm going to be quiet for a second and just let you respond to anything that, you'd like to say at this point.
Yeah. Oh man. I think what you were saying with Source having this unconditional love ready for whoever wants to kind of soak it up, that's big. I think a lot of people almost come at it like they'll be like, but this about me, but that about me. And it's like, but what? But nothing. Like it's there for you.
Yeah.
Um and when you're putting all this like but it's really like a self-created separation or prison in a
Hmm.
way.
Yes.
And
Yep.
what you were saying, what you were talking about, something popped into my head, and it was that I struggle with the concept of being loved unconditionally by Source because I don't love myself unconditionally.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
so conditional with the way that I love or even tolerate myself, that it's so
Hmm.
hard to fathom,
Yeah.
that Source could love me. And sometimes I almost wonder, like, is that why so often in the spiritual world, like people say, like, to receive love, like you put the love out there and then you're also able to receive it because you're actively like expressing it for other people. I'm not sure if that totally made sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, I think it can be almost a shock, I think, when people, or at least when I think about what unconditional love means, because in this world, I don't really see it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, well, how can that be? And how can I trust that? And how can I feel safe in that?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it's almost like this kind of learning curve a little bit to learn how to lean into that, and to trust it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That made me think a little.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I'm glad to hear what you expressed. So, yeah, and the topic of self-love has been coming up in other circles that I'm running in and things. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll share some more of my perspective. I think that hopefully might be helpful. Yeah, so in the world that human beings have created, we've created a very harsh and hard false reality, again, fabricated world of human invention, human condition, whatever we want to call it. It's temporary, it's not ultimately real. But again, since we're all kind of born into the same stew here, we all have to deal with it. And we all deal with it in actually a lot of similar ways with, various variations and differences, those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, so source, right? Like because we're so familiar with humanity and the human condition, right? The source's unconditional love for us is unimaginable.
Yes.
We cannot imagine it. And so, like, basically, what I've dedicated my entire existence to is I want to help people to experience it for themselves. Like, that is part of the essence of who I am and why I'm here because for, the first 20 some years of my life, I didn't know that Source loved me unconditionally. And I didn't know that there was a way to experience that for myself and to receive the benefits of healing, forgiveness, clearing, release, whatever you want to call it, so that I could remember what happened. And actually, though, in some cases, I literally don't remember what happened. Like, even the memory is not there for me anymore, where it's just not even accessible. But there are certain things that, are full of awfulness. And yet now, because of my practice, my willingness to allow Source to love me unconditionally, uh, that I can I can remember some of these situations, these scenarios, these circumstances. I remember what happened, even with a certain amount of detail. And yet, like the pain, the charge, everything, anything that could bring me pain from that is gone.
Hmm.
Okay. And it was that experience. So I shared my story, up to the point where I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's hope, and I can somehow experience the source's love, and the source's love can now help me to be freed from this prison that I've put myself in. So I engaged in my practice, and the practice is ridiculously simple. I did my best to ask from the depths of my being for the source's love. And I did this. I'm not even going to say I was really great at it. I was in the beginning and I had read some stuff that you could do this and it was possible. And I'm like, okay. So I tried it. And then I don't know even when it was. It was weeks or months later. It couldn't have been more than a few months. But I had this moment where I'm like, I remembered what happened. Like it was a very specific instance that just it felt like a prison to me and at every level of my being. And so I went to Source for this love, for this essence, so that I could be freed of this thing that was just it felt like death, right? And
Hmm.
um and then I thought, and I remembered what happened that had brought me so much pain. I mean, I'm talking every type: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, the whole enchilada. I mean, I was feeling it like literally in my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die of a heart condition in my 20s because my heart
Yeah.
literally hurts every time I think of this. Okay.
Yes.
And I thought of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no pain. There's no charge. There's no, and I realized in that moment that I'd been healed. And I was like,
Yeah.
this works. Holy shamoles, and so that it was from that moment that I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick with this because like something, to me, that was a miracle, right? Because I didn't know that kind of healing was possible. I mean, I received hope that it was, and some information that gave me hope that it was possible, but I literally didn't know because I'd never experienced it, right? Like you had described before, I do something bad, I do it again because I'm attracting it. I don't even know how or why I am, but I am, I consider it a defense system, a protective mechanism, but it's actually bringing me more pain without me even realizing it to this place of like, oh my gosh, like I can experience healing and I can be free from the past. Like I don't have to be imprisoned, by my past mistakes and choices or traumas or whatever, my interpretations of these things that tell me I'm bad or whatever. And so that's why I'm here, over a quarter century later, doing the exact same practice. I mean, it looks different, whatever, anyways, I'm on a journey here, but I mean, it's the same essential practice of basically expressing my deep desires to Source, saying, hey, Source, would you let me have this essence of your love, your light, your goodness, can I have that to receive healing, whether it's in a general sense, whether it's just to receive it. I mean, the thing I know is that everything that is incompatible with this substance, with this actual substance that comes from the source, at some point it has to go because the source's energy is of a completely different quality from that with which we are born. And so then I'm in this process of, you can call it displacement or replacement, so my being is undergoing this transformation from one type of energy, the type that we come in with as created beings, into the type of energy that belongs to the source, that is part of what makes source source, so that I can undergo this personal journey of transformation, healing, growth, development, put in whatever words of progress, so that I can then become more and more of who I actually am as a child of the source. And I think about it like, well, what makes a child? Well, what makes a child are parents. And what makes, you know, parents is their love for their child or for their children, and it's the same thing with Source. I'm a child of the Source. What makes me a child of the Source is the fact that I am willing to allow myself to receive the Source's love, not as an idea, not as a concept, not merely as a feeling, but as an actual substance that I experience, within my being, that changes me. And so, I wish I could tell you, oh, Bill is completely healed of everything. no, I'm not there yet. I'm working hard, okay, but I'm not there yet. But I can say with absolute authority and conviction that, I mean, I've been healed of a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that I am free from that kept me in my own personal prison. Um, yeah, and so for me, that's where the hope is. And again, that was part of my journey. The source telling me I didn't forgive you because your definition of what it means to forgive is that there was some point when I didn't love you. And it's like, no, that's not true. What you have done is you have placed walls and barriers between you and me, saying you're unworthy of my love. Okay, I'm trying to get through to you, but if you don't let me in, because see, source, the greatest gift source gives us other than the source's essence of love is this gift of free will. So if we say to source, I'm just not worthy of your love, source is like, I love you anyways. I'm sending you my love as this gift. But again, Source is so humble that Source will not force the gift on us. Source will not say, oh, you have to have this, because then it wouldn't be a gift, right? That would be tyranny. If Source is like, well,
Hmm.
you have to have my love. Like, well, now Source has become, some kind of human control freak or something, which is not how Source plays. Right. So Source honors our choices and our decisions, even as Source is persistently doing everything in Source's power to help us to open, to receive, to allow this love and this light to pour into and around and through us, bringing healing and cleansing and purification and all of these blessings and gifts and possibilities and potentials. But I will affirm that I do know quite a few people who, because of the nature of their traumas, that in this issue of deserving worthiness and self-love, it's it's hard for people in a lot of cases to allow that. Like, but I mean, the thing that I'm going to say too is that, if even if someone, I mean, because I consider myself to be someone who, I didn't realize it at the time, but you come to a certain point in your journey and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I really hated myself. Like, who
Hmm.
talks about that, right? Who talks about the fact that I actually hate myself? Um, I mean, it's easier to talk about it when you don't hate yourself anymore. But if you're on the other side of that, where you're still hating yourself, most people aren't going to just be like, I absolutely hate myself. Um, but yeah, that those ideas of self-hatred, self-loathing, a lack of self-love, what people sometimes will call lack of self-worth, certain particular victim mentalities or martyr mentalities, or archetypes or templates. These things, everything that is out of harmony with the source's love is a potential impediment to it. But I mean, I also know that the source's love is like water. So if someone wants it, even the tiniest little bit, like say that they are just covered over with defense systems upon defense systems, right? Like they've got Patriot missile batteries, they've got bomber squadrons and nuclear weapons, they've got an entire arsenal of weapons, offensive and defensive, to protect themselves from everything they're terrified of. That even if someone like that gets the inkling, and if they're willing to try, if they're willing to say, like, I don't know if I can trust you, Source, like, I don't know, if you're going to hurt me like all these people have, and like I've hurt myself. But if they're willing to just open the door like the tiniest little crack and try, then something is going to get through. Like there's some
Yes.
space, like our defenses are not perfect, right? Like no, there's no
Hmm.
such thing. Like when I was a child, I was sort of obsessed with the idea of the perfect defense, right? Like I'm like, I want to, isn't it funny? These are the things I fantasized about as a child, but it's like, oh, how could you build a fortress so that nothing that you don't want gets in, right? Like these are
Yeah.
the kinds of things I thought about as I was playing with my Legos or whatever I was doing. And but I mean, thankfully, human beings are incapable of creating a perfect defense, because, I mean, the perfect defense is impossible because the universe is a whole, it's unified. And so energy is intended to flow. So you can't stop energy from flowing no matter how hard you try. I mean, boy, you can really stop it up. You can create dams. You can, you can create mazes that it has to meander through, but you can't stop it. It's like this unstoppable force for, to the, but because of the conditions on the planet, like we have to ask for it. Like on other planets, people don't have to ask for this stuff. They don't, because they're born into a world where nobody has these defenses. They don't need them because their world is a world of unconditional love. So those souls are coming in like, woohoo, like I'm so happy to be alive and everybody loves me and I love myself and oh, Source loves me too, woohoo, and they're just going down on this planet, given the harshness of the conditions at this moment in history. We got to work for it a bit harder. We have to want it because we're really swimming against the stream, the stream of the human condition and its chaotic and meandering and destructive patterns. So, thanks for listening. I'll be quiet now.
No, that was wonderful. Hmm. What do I think about all of that? I think it's true that if you just start somewhere, that some of that love will get in. And if you have that intention, I think that things will start to change for the better. And I also think that it's possible that things can kind of snowball in a positive way if you let it. Because I've seen that in my own life with certain spiritual practices or interests. Um, Obviously, I'm not starting off as a master of it, but I try a little bit. And honestly, I've been a little bit surprised at how quickly certain progress has happened, or even synchronicities that have happened, um, just by kind of opening that door a little bit. Um, and yeah, I think giving it a chance because I think it's so easy for me, especially like just thinking about my own life, to think that it's hopeless and it's felt so bad for so many years, and things don't seem to be helping, but to let that hope in, I think is big. And I think people would be surprised at what can start to change. And I think this is just a good reminder for myself as well, um, to open that door again, um, and to let that healing come in. Because I think even on this journey, there have been times that I've really kind of closed myself off to the possibilities, um,
Mhm.
and convinced myself of these narratives that I feel like really only seem to exist here, like on Earth, like just in this world,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and sometimes I like this might be a step too far for some people, and I totally get that. But sometimes, like in my head, I almost just want to be like, this is all so fake. Like, this is so fake. Like, and I guess, like this is my reality right now. And I never want to be like, oh, none of this matters at all. It doesn't mean anything, because I think it still means something. Um, but sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what is all of this?
Mhm.
It's it's an illusion. It really feels like an illusion sometimes. And I know that our actions have effects here and there's
Mhm.
ripples that maybe we can't even begin to understand. But I don't know, sometimes I feel like Source or the universe is just trying to tell me like it's okay, like just chill out a little bit. And I find that when I'm really still with myself and I'm putting that effort in or I'm meditating, I find that that all becomes a lot more apparent than in my like day-to-day life on how I'm treating myself, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That kind of idea of like, it's okay, like let's chill out a little bit, is stronger than like when I'm with myself and still with myself.
Yeah, yeah, and so the you had said something before. I'm just looking at my notes. You had said something like, "Oh, well, it's, for a lot of people, it's easier to like maybe experience or receive love or healing if we're willing to give it or offer it to others." You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
and it's really interesting. I think for most people in this world at this time, I think there's a lot of truth to that because again, it's connected to this idea of self-love or self-worth that I'm not worthy of receiving love unless I'm giving it. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is somehow, and I think part of it is me being a guy, maybe me just being kind of the selfish, narcissistic person that I have been, am, whatever, that like when I came across this information, and I mean, there are times I was like, is this really the right thing to do? Because the information told me it was like, okay, you need to ask source for this love, and you need to ask for it for yourself, and do it as much as you can, as intensely as you can, in order for you to undergo this change so that you can stop causing harm and start doing more good. And in this world, so much of what we're taught is like, oh, you need to be serving other people, you need to be contributing to other people, otherwise, who are you and what's your worth and why are you even here,
Mm,
if you're only for
right.
yourself. But I mean, I have found it to be true for myself. And again, I'm sort of grateful that I'm wired this way, because I know lots of people who are like, well, I don't feel worthy of receiving this love unless I'm being used as a channel or an instrument for it. And I'm like, I totally get that. But the thing is that, like, I know now from personal experience that I cannot be the person that other people need me to be if I do not ask source. And see, source isn't like a person, right? Source isn't like, they're not like a human being. I mean, in terms of, oh, I go to source and source gives me love, and somehow that source is depleted, and that, I owe them or what. Like, this is not how source is. Absolute abundance. Source just wants to give, 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 give. That's why source created the cosmos. That's why source created people in the image of source who can actually experience the source's essence and be changed by it, and experience ever greater union and at one-ment with source and these kinds of things. So, uh, right. So yeah, whenever, and again, I know people that this is the thing for, when they're like, and I'm not going to discourage anyone who's willing to seek the source's love in whatever way. I mean, something's better than nothing. But the truth of the matter is, like, for source, like you said, everything's invented. It's an illusion. I mean, that's why I use the phrase the fabricated world of human invention. Fabricated meaning people made it up. It's a lie. World. So it's this encompassing reality, like the Matrix, if you've seen those movies, which I'm a huge fan. And
Hmm.
then, you have invention, like that people have invented these things. So they're not just made up, they're not just fabrications, but they're literal inventions that have no reality beyond the fact that people thought them up, invented them, and then perpetuate their existence. You know, Capitalism, that is
Hmm.
part of the fabricated world of human invention. There is actually no divine reality connected to it. it it's something people made up. The idea of individual property rights, the idea of, I mean, just take your pick of any political economic system, even most philosophies. I mean, it's just stuff people made up, to your point. I mean, and it doesn't mean our lives are meaningless, but if we root our lives in these things that people have made up, I mean, I see it all the time. Like, I'm on Reddit or on different platforms, and people are like, oh, my life is so meaningless. I have all this stuff. I have great relationships, family, friends, job, blah, 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 and I feel empty. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
you've bought the lie that the fabricated world of human invention can fulfill you. It can't. It's incapable of giving you something it doesn't have. Source has that.
Yeah.
Source is the source. That's why I use the word, because it's like it's the one we can go to who has everything we need, and who will help us even in this material reality to access whatever is needed for us to express who we truly are, and be who we are, and all these different kinds of things. So, oh, and yeah, you mentioned hope, and yeah, for me, like, I'm very interested in what I call soul perceptions. And for me, hope is a soul perception. It's that sense that even when things are darkest, when they're at their worst, the soul knows that hope is a possibility, that there is something better on the other side of this horrific now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to call that out, because like, hope, faith, love, it's obviously Paul mentions it in First Corinthians 13, but those words connect to soul perceptions. They are not the only soul perceptions, but in this world at this time, they're still three very important and meaningful soul perceptions for people to access, to cultivate, to trust. Even when it's hard to trust that there's hope, if we go deep enough within ourselves, we can find it. Like, it lives in our souls, these realities of hope and faith and love and things. So yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so no, this is powerful stuff, and yeah, I mean my I consider my entire existence to be transformed by this knowledge, that now anytime something comes up where I'm having trouble forgiving myself, for something from the past or the present or, anything, um, I have a way, I can go to source and say, source, please, can I have more of your love to help me to heal this, to release it, to let it go, to transmute it into light so that I can be free of it. Oh, and I want to share this thought too, because you had talked earlier about repayment, right?
Oh yeah.
okay, all right. So, this is a perception that came to me a long time ago, and it still continues to be true for me. So, this is part of the beauty of the source's economy of being, okay? Because we think in terms of debt, right? Or owing people or whatever. So the perception, the realization that has brought me a lot of peace, and it applies to so many things in my existence, is that, I know that there are people that I've harmed in my life. And, in some cases, it does make sense to acknowledge this, to address it, to speak to it, to maybe even seek in some form of, we'll call it repair, remedy, or restoration.
Hmm.
And so when people are inspired to do these things and they seem appropriate, I think it's totally fine. And it's a good thing, for people to check in and to feel if these things are doable. But right, there are people that maybe we hurt that maybe they're not here anymore,
Yeah.
maybe we have no connection with them. I mean, so if we're stuck in the game of like, well, how do I make it up to them? I mean, we're still in prison, right? We're still going to be like, well, I can't get out because I can't repay them. I can't make it right. And sometimes there are things that you do that you can't take back. You kill someone, even accidentally, you can't take it back, right?
Right.
You cause someone to lose a limb or an eye or whatever. I mean, we don't live in a world where people just grow that stuff back. And so the thing that has given me peace is the recognition that the source's love, this essence, this power is available to everyone. And that it has the ability in its own way to undo the pain, the hurt, the suffering that anyone has caused to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And so, with that knowledge, with that, and I'm not asking people to believe this, I'm just telling you what I know is true. Like I'm talking about what I'd call a soul perception, that, I continue to check in with it and it continues to read as true for me. So I keep going with it. Um, you know, that has given me so much freedom and peace to know that like even if I screwed up, even if I can't make it right, even if there's no way to make it right or it's inappropriate to try to make something right, that I can pray for those whom I have hurt and I can pray for them, ask for them to receive the source's love so that they might be healed of whatever harm or damage I may have caused. And so that is also part of my practice. When I realize that I've done something that I can't ask for someone's forgiveness for, or I can't seek to offer restitution or repair or anything like that, that is my fallback position. That I'm like, well, they have sources love the same as I do. They have the same access to it, and that I can ask on their behalf for them to be open and receptive to receiving it. And again, it's their choice whether they're open and receptive to receiving it. But once I've done that, then I've done my job. You know what I mean? Like I have done my part. Um, because they do have access to this infinite resource of limitless power, same as me, in order to get what they need, even in despite of, or possibly even because of, something I may have done that caused them harm.
Oh, that's profound. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know when it came to me. I don't know how, but it just, I don't know, somehow. Yeah. And I mean, again, I know it's true for me because I've experienced it, right? I have the ability to express those desires and longings for other people to experience the source's love. And again, it's not my job that they receive it. I can't make them. I don't want to force them. Source won't either. So I trust that yeah, and I also perceive that the prayers, the good wishes, the wholesome intentions that people express toward each other. Sometimes people are open and willing to receive those things in the moment, even if they're not. They basically pile up around them until they are ready to receive them. So, I know at some point in eternity, that every good thing that I've done, that I've expressed, will eventually, find its mark when people are open and receptive to what I've offered to them, for whatever reasons. Yeah. And so, yeah, and now I'm going back to kind of what you said in the beginning about, the idea that the sins, these scars, these damaging things, that they feel so permanent, and yet like the good stuff that we do feels so passing or trite or insignificant,
Yes.
in consideration of the vastness of our error and sin and all this. And when you said that, the thought that popped into my head then, it was that it's the actual opposite of that. The truth is the opposite. The truth is that the good sticks, the good lasts, because it is in harmony with love, with truth, with goodness and beauty. And so that is what sticks, that is what resonates. And as we are willing to allow the source to help us to release those things that we have done, that we have felt that were not correct, that were not in harmony, that were not expressions of love, that these are the things that go. These are the things that the source's love heals, dissolves, removes, transmutes, whatever word or image you want, displaces, that is the truth. And so, yeah, and I know it, because I've experienced it.
That is so profound to me. Like I actually just got emotional. Like I have tears in my eyes because what you just said so completely challenges my worldview that I didn't even want to be having. Like I didn't want this negative worldview. It just I unfortunately developed it over time. Um, and it like if what you're saying is true, it changes the way that I see myself, my whole self-perception and who I must be into something that I think is more positive. But that's also hard to accept when you've been living this way for so long.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
when other people seem to want to take that from you, like they want you to feel bad and scared and fearful.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that just really makes me think about the way that I view myself and the world. Wow,
Yeah.
that's intense. It's like a simple thing that you said, but to actually take that and digest it and live that and let those changes happen, that's really intense for me. And I'm
Yeah.
sure for other people as well. Wow. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. My pleasure. No, as I'm here with you, I mean, I'm tearing up myself, and that's always a sign for me um, that I am feeling or expressing, from the depths of my being, that I'm not in the realm of opinion, I'm not in the
Yeah.
realm of thought or belief, that I am, I am touching on a deeply profound truth that does not just apply to me, but it applies to everyone. And yeah, and oh, I so look forward to the day when everyone on this planet knows it. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, because it is right. Those who are willing to test that hypothesis, for whom it is a hypothesis and it is not a known fact of personal experience, those who are willing to test it, they will find it to be true for them, and who they think they are will be transformed. How they are in the world will be, what's the word? I mean, utterly different. and their experience of life, of themselves, of their relationships with others, with creation, with the source will be something that is completely and absolutely unimaginable at this point. Yeah, yeah. So, I am so grateful for this conversation. Yeah, and for you bringing up this topic. I'm gonna be honest, I had my doubts coming in, because I'm like, what are we gonna talk about? I'm like, but when I realized how personal, how relevant it was to you, in terms of you and your journey, then I felt like we had a shot. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank
thank
you
you.
for giving that a chance. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, thank you for your willingness to bring it up so that we could have that conversation. Yeah, yeah, I'm deeply grateful, and I'm deeply touched by this conversation, and I'm deeply hopeful that this conversation may, not just help you and me, but hopefully those who will experience it in the future. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Bill right now is a bit overcome with emotion, but we will look forward to continuing our conversation. And we don't know what the next topic is going to be. So anyways, yeah, so we'll be looking forward to continuing our ongoing conversation, perhaps related to this topic, perhaps something else. I guess we'll see what comes up. But regardless, thank you so much for listening, for being here. I sincerely hope that this has been helpful to you on your own unique journey. And so we thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Call for the Soul with Bill and Claire. Until next time.